it's a story that we saw over the weekend, and it's a story that I think a lot of parents live through all the time, and that's the cost of school uniforms. So every year, parents are forced to pay thousands of rands for new uniforms, and it's alleged that school leadership get paid for exclusive supplier contracts, forcing parents to fork out a lot of money, even though similar items can be bought elsewhere at a fraction of the price. The story has brought into focus the power that parents and SGBs, that school governing bodies, have to mandate or question decisions taken in their respective schools. Elijah Mhlanga joins us here in studio, and he says that government can only legislate, but the Schools Act provides parents with powers to decide in the running of their children's schools. So let's continue this conversation with Elijah. Good to have you. Welcome to the program.
Morning. Thank you.
This story, I mean, when we look at the news about the price of school uniforms and that the Commission is investigating that, how was it received by the department?
In fact, the department was the first one to work on it because parents had been complaining to us, saying that they are paying high prices for school uniforms, and we needed to do something about it. And we started talking to SGBs about it, saying that they need to make sure that the selection of suppliers should be a fair process that involves parents. But of course, the attention of the Competitions Commission was also attracted to this matter, and they started doing work about 2-3 years ago as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big issue because it's just pushing up the cost of education. As much as we know that school fees are exceptionally high, and we know that particularly in a lot of private schools, add to that the cost of the school uniform, and then it just pushes it right out of the ballpark. I mean, what can be done? How can we get around something like this?
Well, we need parents to be even more active, particularly when it comes to issues that involve their children's education, because if you don't, you'll end up paying for things that you actually shouldn't be paying for. Like in a situation like this one, where you find that certain companies have been given rights to supply uniforms to particular schools for many years, and no one is questioning why that particular supplier has been retained for so many years without their contract being reviewed or renewed or even ended. So it's upon parents to begin to attend meetings that are called at a school as part of the SGB functions, to make sure that they come, listen, make input, question things, and change things that they feel should be changed.
Yeah. How can the department get involved? I mean, you say while the government can come up with policies to regulate the tendering system and go against a particular school's preferred supplier if the school decides to do so, you know, where do you come into this picture?
Now, the government has put in place the Act, the Schools Act, which is the one that schools should use. Parents have power, as far as that Act is concerned, to make decisions on a variety of issues: language, school admissions, school uniform, safety in the school, which means the first line of accountability when it comes to the management of a school, it's actually the parents through the school governing body. So it is them who have been empowered by law to take these decisions. All that we can do is to monitor if this act is being implemented accordingly. Where issues such as this one that has been reported come up, we need to make sure that we support them. What we do is to remind school governing bodies through training that takes place to make sure that they do things in a fair manner. For example, when it comes to issues of the procurement of suppliers, they need to make sure that the tender process is followed. Parents must have a say. That a prospective supplier must come to the school, deliver a presentation, tell them how they're going to work with the parents, and parents will therefore make a decision on the basis of whoever supplier that they want. But you find a situation where some suppliers have been there for years and there's never been any such process that has taken place. So those are the things that parents need to look into.
And the reality is that I don't actually think that most parents realize they have this power. Because, I mean, you know, you just get told what to do. Your kid has to have the uniform. So you go and you buy it and you fork out the money and you complain about the price, but you've got no option because that's the only supplier. I mean, that again, surely there shouldn't be a monopoly that exists like that. That there is, and I can take it from my own school that my kids go to. There's one supplier. I cannot go anywhere else. If they don't have stock, we're in trouble. And the stock that they do have, that's the price. And if you can't pay it, well, then find another school. I mean, that's the attitude.
Well, it's really unfortunate because you also find a situation where parents are invited to meetings and they don't attend.
Yeah.
We need to fix that fact first. It's the basic things, because if you don't attend meetings, it means that minority of of parents who have attended that meeting are going to make decisions that will impact on the majority of the parents who have their children in that school. So it's really about numbers. If we can have more numbers making the right decisions, then everyone else will benefit. But if you don't attend these meetings, then you are jeopardizing yourself as a person, and even your economic circumstances might even get worse because you are not protecting yourself as a parent. At the end of the day, it's you, the parent, who must make the decision that will ensure that your life, for as long as your child goes to that school, is also protected.
So just to, I suppose, wrap up the conversation for the uniform, because there's more we want to talk about, but is there, you know, in terms of having a monopoly and a single provider, because there are stories as well of parents that are, well, not parents, principals or heads of schools that are benefiting. They're getting kickbacks from the supplier and saying, well, you know, keep your business with us and we'll look after you. You know, that's, I mean, when you have a monopoly, these are the kind of things that can happen.
But also when you have a weak SGB, that type of thing will happen. So if you have active parents who question everything, who want to see the books, who want to see a situation where everything is transparent, every decision is taken with their participation, then you can't have that, because everyone will know that they're being monitored. And it happens in other communities. So what we are talking about is not something that doesn't happen. Other people do it, and it works in their school. So all you need to do is to make sure that the right thing happens right across all our schools.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm just trying to get to the bottom of the fact that this is happening in every school, that there is a problem when it comes to the school uniform providers. I understand that you're saying that school governing bodies should get involved and parents should have more participation, but it's a done thing. The practice is that you've got a supplier who is close to the area of the school, and they have them. I mean, up to some shops have got 70 school uniforms of 70 different schools, and that's it. You know, I mean, there is no competition. Don't you think you can introduce something where more than one supplier can keep these school uniforms? That's, I think, what I'm asking of the department. Can you not assist in any other way except for pushing it onto the school governing body?
No.
You can't assist.
No, listen. The Competitions Commission
I am listening.
The Competitions Commission is an arm of government.
Yes.
And it is its duty is to look at anti-competitive practices.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what they are doing now.
I'm asking the Department of
No,
Education
it's not a function
to
of
assist.
the department.
Can you not assist in any way? That's all I'm asking.
No, we are not in business. We are not in private business. That's an issue of an enterprise that wants to offer services that include the provision of school uniform.
Yeah.
We can't stop anyone, and we can't encourage anyone to.
It's pushing up the cost of education.
Yes, but that's exactly what the Competitions Commission is trying to establish. They are going to conduct this investigation, and I believe in the next few years we will know exactly what it is that has been going on in this particular sector.
Yeah.
And we believe that the recommendations that they are going to make, or whatever findings that they are going to make, are going to change the game and make sure that new entrants have a fair chance of success in this business. The old ones also continue to operate without jeopardizing or even disadvantaging the young entrants that also want to be in the same business. And maybe also let's make this point here, that we're talking about 3,000 or 4,000 schools here, because the majority of our schools are in rural areas where uniform is not really a big issue, because people can go and buy at this supermarket or wherever. It's mostly the schools that are in the cities, the schools that former Model C, or schools that are in the urban areas as well. This is where this is prevalent. But for the majority of the school, this is not an issue at all. It's only here where there's huge opportunity for business, where there's opportunity for people to make money, and as a result they find themselves getting school principals involved in corruption. And that's something that I think the Competitions Commission is going to help us with.
Could we ever get to a situation in South Africa where the system of wearing a school uniform is dropped?
Well, it's something that we need to discuss. I think parents, at the end of the day, need to decide if their children need to wear a uniform. But to us, a uniform should not be an issue that should stop Elena from going to school. In fact, the Constitution is very clear that nothing should stop Elena from accessing education. Nothing. And there's no condition, and there are no exceptions. Yeah. So whether Elena has uniform or not, they should still be able to go to school. So for us, it's really not a big issue. It's something, I think it's a nice to have. Because it has nothing to do with the performance of the learner or the performance of the teacher or anything for that matter. All that we need to do as a department is to make sure that the environment is correct, textbooks, workbooks, infrastructure is properly provided for, and everyone can get to do what they need to do.
Yeah. you say that any pupil should be able to go to a school regardless if they have a uniform or not, but it doesn't work that way. Because if a child arrives at school without a uniform, there are rules, there are standards at every single school, and if they cannot afford it, I mean, you get parents that work exceptionally hard to get their kids into these schools, and that's where all of their money goes, is to get this great education. And if they can't afford the uniform, then the kid is looked down upon and also is getting into trouble. So the reality is that we need to work very fast on this, so that, you know, that whoever is, if they are illegally benefiting from the school uniforms, they need to be taken care of.
Yeah, but it's parents. You see, the rules that you're talking about are actually rules that are designed, put
I think
together
parents
by
have got a
parents.
certain say in these things,
They
but I
each
mean,
say.
I don't see how a parent can overrule a headmaster of a school. For instance, a curriculum. Can I overrule a curriculum?
No, it's not about... No, curriculum is a purview of the Department of Basic Education at policy level.
But I'm saying
but
that
in
parents
terms of
have
the
got a
schools
certain say. But at the end of the day, the rules are made by the school governing body together with the principals. You've got principals, you've got leaders at schools. I don't think that a parent can overrule it.
A school principal is a member of the SGB. He's not separate from it. So the school principal works together with the chairperson of the school governing body, together with a group of parents who form an SGB. The work of the SGB is informed by the wishes of the parents. That's why they can agree on a language policy, they can agree on the safety arrangements of the learners in the school, they can agree on the language policy of the school, they can agree on a whole range of issues that should happen on a school on a day-to-day basis. So if there's something that puts them in a disadvantage, it is their own decision. So it is up to them. Look at the economic environment, look at their own situation wherever the school is located, and decide on what it is that's best for them, and then make the decision on that basis.
I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years. I mean, it's not something new. I don't think it's a new story at all. It's something that we've all been subjected to, wearing school uniforms and having a single sole supplier. So I'm wondering how much say parents have had all along this way. So hopefully something will change. I really do, because, you know, it's something that I've noticed, and it's something that I think a lot of parents have noticed, is that you can go to a normal retail store, buy a pack of shirts or whatever it is for X amount, but if you go to the school retailer, you're paying about 4 times that amount, if that. It could be even more. Whereas if I had to buy a blazer and just sew a badge on, I could get it for quarter the amount. So there is a definite problem happening, and something needs to be done.
Absolutely, and we believe that the Competitions Commission, because they're doing this for the first time, they'll really expose the rot that has been happening and be able to set a new sort of environment which will enable everyone to supply uniform, bring the prices down, and benefit learners and parents alike.
All right, Elijah, thank you for talking to us here on the program. Elijah insisting that parents get more involved, which is true, because, I mean, you'll find that in some schools, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Elijah, there are no parents on a school governing body. I mean, there are some school governing bodies that have such a lack of parents and people that don't get involved in the school, but it is up to parents to get more involved in the day-to-day runnings of some schools. All right, Elijah always makes for an interesting conversation, that much I can promise you. Elijah Mhlanga is the spokesperson for basic education here in studio with us, talking about school uniforms and the price thereof. Please write to us, let us know what you think at Morning Live, SABC. Also, school governing bodies, how much say do they actually have in the determination of things, like where you buy your child's school uniform? I'd love to hear from you if you perhaps sit on one.